Hi, I'm Christopher Hine, and today we're going to talk about positions in Aikido. So I'm going to talk to you guys about the primary positions, and I'm pretty sure I've made a video on that before, but we're going to go back over what the primary positions are, what Awase is, what the secondary positions are, and what the tertiary positions are, and how those naturally lead to a progression of what the techniques are in Aikido outside of some of the stuff that's the more joint-specific stuff. You might call it Kensetsu Waza, or it has a lot of the Kyo Waza stuff. So how the Nage Waza plays out from those positional orientations, it'll make more sense when I show it to you. I'm going to get Josh out here. We're going to go to work. Josh? All right, so let's talk about positions, Awase, secondary positions, tertiary positions, and technique and how that all interplays. So I'm pretty sure I've made a video for you guys before about primary positions, but let's just quickly review what the primary positions are. Now these are not Tai no Kinko, these are not how I get to the positions, these are just the positions that we talk about in Aikido. So the first position is Mu Hanmi, and that means without Hanmi. So I don't have a Hanmi here, and the reason we refer to it that way is because in Aikido you should always have Hanmi. So if you're in a no Hanmi situation, your primary objective is to get Hanmi at least, right? So Hanmi would be either going this side or this side, and we start to get a half body position. If I were to move like this, it's I Hanmi, because my left foot is closest to his left foot, and his left foot's closest to mine. So by just stepping, we don't have to change anything, but just stepping like this, we already have I Hanmi. Now, of course, the same would be true on the other side. If I step this way, I just have I Hanmi on the other side. So this would be Migi I Hanmi, right side Migi I Hanmi. Okay, now, if I rotate slightly like this, then I get Gyaku Hanmi, right? So like if I'm trying to get up the line and I go like this, that's now Gyaku Hanmi because his left foot's forward and my right foot's forward. That's Gyaku opposite. And of course, if I did the same thing to the other side, that would just be Gyaku Hanmi over there, right? So there's our I and Gyaku Hanmi. Now, those positions are okay. They're better than this position. This is the worst position. But Hitomi is the next position up, right? And for that, of course, we have Gyaku, we're facing opposite directions, and I, we're facing same direction. And if you want to get technical about a technique, you could also have Chokaku, which is 90 degrees to each other. So also you can say that. And then the best position for us is Irimi. And we either have I Irimi, we're facing the same direction, Chokaku Irimi, we're 90 degrees to each other, or Gyaku Irimi, we're facing opposite directions of each other. Okay, so those are the basic positions. And as we get to the back position, they're improving every time, right? So you know, this position's not that good, this position's slightly better, this position's slightly better, this position's better yet, right? So we're getting better and better and better as we start to go around. Okay, so when I'm dealing with this guy in time and space, I'm always trying to get to a better and better position, right? So imagine if we were at far distance, if I could get around to the back of this guy, then that's exactly what I would try to do. You know, if he wasn't paying attention to me or too slow or whatever, I'm gonna work my way behind him because he can do very little to me if I'm behind him, much less than he could do if I'm right in front of him, right? So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so that's the beginning idea of Awase. I'm blending with him, right? So I'm making some kind of interaction with him and trying to get a good position for myself. Now, as I'm moving, if he's chasing me down, of course, he's going to adapt. So meaning, if he was coming at me, you got to go ultra, ultra slow right now, but if he's coming at me and I start to go over here, he's going to, of course, adapt, and now we have Mu Hanmi again, right? You see, because I moved over here and he moved over here, we have Mu Hanmi. So most of the time, when you're starting to make Awase with them, they're just going to keep adjusting to you, and so you'll always be in Mu Hanmi, and you're going to keep trying to get out of Mu Hanmi, and they're going to keep trying to put you in Mu Hanmi because they want you right in front of them so they can get you, right? So that's the beginning of Awase. Now, as we get closer and closer and closer, if we're in Mu Hanmi, I'm going to try and get a secondary Awase, right, or a secondary position, right? And that's going to come through our Tai no Kinko, right? So imagine, well, right now we're going to put his hands out really simply right out in front of him. I'm going to try to get a Soto Mawari, which puts me in Hitomi, right? I'm going to try to get an Irimi, which puts me in Irimi, right? I'm going to try to get any one of those Tai no Kinko we talk about all the time, 45s, 90s, triangles, all that stuff. Okay, now as I do that, if he can, he's going to adapt to that in some way. Now, there's really only three ways he's going to adapt. So understand, because we have suppression here, I have his arm suppressed, he can really only go over my suppression, under my suppression, or pull his hand back, right? So that's basically how he's going to deal with my suppression somehow. He actually can't, as long as I have a nice light body, push into my suppression, because if he does that, I just move my body, right? And I stay suppressed the whole time, or he stays suppressed the whole time as I'm moving with him, right? So he's going to have to do one of those three things. Now, Aikido dictates to us that if he goes up, I should try and stay stuck, and I get Ikkyo with it, right? So Ikkyo comes out really naturally if he goes up, okay? If he pulls his hand back, I should try and stay stuck to his hand, right? So that takes care of itself in its own way. Now, if he goes around, we start to have a lot of difficulty. And that's going to be the easiest and best way for him to re-engage with me is just to bring his arm down and around like that. And that's what he's looking for, okay? Now, if he gets me there, I'm in a really bad way. So anytime I'm in that position, I should either try to uchi-mawari, shoot through, and we'll count that just as one of our secondary or a taino hinko to get to our secondary positions, right? Or I have to shoot a triangle because he's come around, I can't get underneath. Boom, and I'm going to go like this, okay? So actually, let's shoot to the other side. So here as he goes around, underneath, yep, boom there, and I pop out to this position right here. So now I'm in a nice triangle position. Let's angle you this a little bit. Okay, so now we're into all of our tertiary positions. So this is our third positions that will lead to techniques. So this inside position is like the third and final kind of variation on this. His arms are wide, he's coming to get me, I have my hand in his face, and I'm trying to deal with this. So what's he going to do from this? Well, he could just keep trying to charge in and get me. Bang, just like this, okay? Now that really directly leads to a koshinage, right? So we get a koshi. Okay, mic problem, no problem, but Josh grabbed my lapel mic, no problem. Okay, so that leads directly to a koshinage, right? Okay, if he keeps coming and trying to go around this, this leads to kaiten. And if he goes underneath, we get a classic kaiten nage, but it's just the concept of kaiten. And I think that's an important distinction, is to not think about the kaiten as being like kaiten nage, although if he goes lower and lower, lower, trying to get around my suppression, why I'm saying that is like, so I have my hand in his face, where's he going to put his head if he wants to get to me? Watch, see, he dropped his head, right? So if he drops his head and I drop my hand, and he drops his head and I drop my hand, he drops his head and I drop my hand, we get kaiten nage. Not because I push his head down, but because he's trying to slip his head down underneath and around me, right? So that's what he's up to. So that will often lead to a kaiten nage like that, but just the kaiten is how I'm dealing with that tertiary position, right? So I'm here, when Josh comes in towards me, this is just how I'm dealing with it, right? That is just, that turning around action is just how I'm dealing with it. Now, if he doesn't want to just spin with me, he's going to engage, and that will probably lead to a kaiten nage, but that's what that kaiten position is, right? Okay? Other than that, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to get this arm down somehow so I can start to come through, right? And so this is Gedan Barai, that low sweep like that. And then that could become this kind of blend. It could turn into a Sulta Mawari, and we get all the other techniques from that, right? So the techniques naturally arise because he keeps giving me a problem with what I initially want to do, right? So think of it. It's real simple. I want to not be in front of him, so I'm going to move somewhere. Now, if he let me move somewhere and didn't do anything, and Josh kept coming forward, he would miss me, and that would be fantastic, right? Now, we know that's almost certainly not going to happen. So from my primary position attempt, he's going to adjust, right? And he's going to keep doing that. I'm going to go to a primary position, he's going to adjust. I'm going to go to a primary position, he's going to adjust. So that's our beginning Awase. That's going to get all the way down very likely to, we're in this inside position, and I'm starting to blend with him. And so I actually have to get full Awase here with suppression, and I'm going to make some kind of blend like this. Now, if I can make that blend successfully, he'll blow by me again. So he's coming in, and I go like this, boom, and I made a successful Sulta Mawari, and bang, and he flies off, and that's fantastic. Okay, so all of those setups are how the techniques naturally arise. So we have our primary positions. He's always going to be wanting to put me in a muhanmi, and I'm always going to try to work behind him to get to aihanmi. So if I could just magically get my way, I would be back there. If he could magically get his way, I would never move from here. Now we're going to have some kind of negotiation in between that, right? So as he comes to get me, I'm going to change positions. He's going to adapt to me. I'm going to change positions. He's going to adapt to me, right? And this is how we would get basic movement happening. So I keep trying to get to one of those primary better positions. Josh keeps trying to erase that with muhanmi. Now that's going to happen all the way until we get right up next to each other, and then I'm going to get my secondary positions, which are these really strong, like, you know, so this is a really strong hito and me, right? And I'm going to get that off of my basic taino hinko. So I'm going to suppress this guy, and I'm going to move with him, and I'm going to get that. Now, if he couldn't adjust to that blend, then he would just fly by me. So he's coming in, and I go like this, boom, and he couldn't adjust. He would just fly off of me, and we'd be back to the first game we were playing, right? So primary positions are at that extended range. Secondary positions are in that up close range. Now, if he can adapt to my secondary position attempt, then we're going to get the tertiary position, which is pretty much going to be, the worst one is this inside wide arm position, right? So if I try to go to the outside and he shoots that arm low, I'm going to go here, so I have a triangle, right? Now, everything else that happens, all the Aikido techniques that happen from that, right? So it's going to happen in some way coming off of that setup. So I hope this video makes sense, because the mic fell off a couple times and we had to restart. But so I hope that made sense to you guys. If it didn't make sense, let me know and I'll make a better video for you explaining it. But you have to understand that everything's always done in a series of They're going to do something. I'm going to try this. They're going to adapt to me or not. If they don't adapt to me, then cool, the thing I tried worked. If not, then I have to have new answers for them adapting to me. And that's going to go all the way on until one person gets their way or we have a resolution of some sort, right? So that's that for that video. I'm Christopher Fine. This is Joshua Teehee, my Salon of Games behind that camera right there. We'll see you in the next video.